Hello Sagittarius friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Sagittarius, January 2021, Astrology Must Knows. Happy New Year! Welcome to this brand new world where massive changes are happening so fast that it's dizzy. I'm sure that you've gone through a lot by the time you're getting up to this point in January because the eclipse cycle being in our sign, I'm a Sag too. I know that November and December will have been very, very, very eventful for you. And if it wasn't, it's probably because the crazy aspects weren't hitting you in close proximity. So that's possible, but there's a very good chance that the vast majority of you listening have had a lot of changes, and there are more to come. Also, more information about those themes of that the eclipses brought up are likely to come in. So we're going to talk about all of this, okay? So I've got, well, actually, first, before I get to my must-know list, this is for you if your sun is in Sag, if your moon is in Sag, if your rising is in Sag, if you have other Sag placements that you watch for, and if you're not sure if you have more than one placement in Sagittarius, run a free birth chart. I'm a huge advocate of helping you to utilize astrology in a deeper way, and if you know more about what your placements are, then I'll speak to a lot of that in these readings, and they're readings, but they're more, also focused on education so that you can just use this in a deeper way, because I like to go deeper than the superficial of what just may happen. I want to talk about why and help you to get more into your chart and yourself. The second thing is that if you're a late degree Sag placement, as I am too, so if your birthday is like between December 11th and the rest of the sign, or your placement is between 20 and 29 degrees, I also suggest you watch my video for Capricorn, because you cuspy people are going to have pieces in each of the reports that could be relevant for you, okay? All right, so January 2021 must knows. We have wide open stars for the first half of January. All the planets will be moving direct, and it is going to create so much momentum, it will make you dizzy. Okay, that momentum and that change will have already started at the end of November into December, and it's continuing now. In the middle of January, Mercury will start its slide into retrograde at the end of the month. And so that is going to be a time where there's more confusion, where things are getting called into question, where there's not as good footing for, trying to do something in the long term. There's, just kind of more of a time to be internal. But that first half of the month is just really open for your big things, your moves, your big decisions, your paperwork, things like that. Now, there is one caution that I'll just give you a snippet on this now, and I'm going to go into it later when we talk about this epic aspect between Jupiter squaring Uranus, basically. Okay, and that's going to happen on the 17th, but it's in effect all month. And that's a really big dog aspect, okay? So you'll want to stay tuned towards the end of the video where I get into that, because it's a big one. But one thing to know about it is that it can cause people to want to be overzealous. And if ever there were a sign that is overzealous at times, it is Sagittarius. We are very extreme, excessive people. We're very fiery. We move in a circle. We're all over the place. And we will have just been sufficiently spun out from having so much emphasis on Sagittarius and fire signs in December that by January, you're going to be like, whoo, when is that retrograde coming? Because I'm kind of ready for that rest, But because this zealotry with this square might not be a good thing, you'll want to just know that I said this, okay? So as the month goes on, things are going to get called into question more, but also I want you to notice within yourself, if you see that surge that you get, if it feels it's coming from your stomach, your third chakra area, where there's a compulsion to do something, a compulsion to eradicate, to be rebellious, to be overzealous, to do something completely crazy. Really, really feel into that and possibly hold off on being as extreme, okay? Because even though we have wide open stars, we don't have complete license to be completely crazy because of this theme. Okay, now that being said, we are going to have a lot of support from Jupiter and Saturn moving into finally a sign that is good for us. If you haven't been watching my videos until now, then you won't have known this. So I'll tell you it now, and I'll remind those of you who I have told already. Saturn and Jupiter were in Capricorn, and it was a righteous beast. Okay, you know that because 2020 was a righteous beast, and that's when Jupiter joined the Capricorn party, and it was just really stressful. Not that good things also didn't happen, it's just, it was a lot. And it wasn't a particularly comfortable aspect for Sagittarius placements, okay? But now, Jupiter, the great expander, our ruling planet, Saturn, the, bringer of long-term gains and security, are moving into Aquarius, which is a 60-degree angle with Sag placements, which is a favorable angle. And so those planets are going to be really be supporting Sag placements at this time, okay? But this month in general, in the short term, that's a long-term story. That's very positive. This month is all about grounding for Sagittarius. It's all about grounding for everyone, but especially for us, because we've just been sufficiently spun out, because even still at the beginning of the month, Venus is in Sagittarius. So those of you late degree placements, so basically December 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees, you're going to get your kisses from Venus still. Here at the beginning of the month, Mars, for those of you at the end of the sign, the very end of Sag, just the last few days, you're going to get your kisses from Mars at this time. But once that shifts, all the personal planets are going to be focused on Earth. All right. And Earth has to do with the material world. It has to do with grounding. It has to do with laser focus, discipline, organization, all things that are not naturally Sagittarian. I'm not saying that you as a Sagittarius don't have those traits. I know that I do have those traits, but I only have those traits because of my Earth placements. And I still get wild and out of control and scattered because of all the Sag placements. So this is a time that I think can be kind of a relief for Saggies, because it's like the spin out Sag party, has done its crazy thing. And now it's time to clean up after the party. Okay. And it's time to get a leg up on your taxes. It's time to do important business things, to get your budget in order. What I really like it for is a clean slate, and it is going to feel really like a new year. That's something else that's really notable about this January. Sometimes the new year doesn't feel like a new year if we're starting in a retrograde or if certain things are going on in the stars. But at least, especially for the first couple of weeks before we start getting into retrograde, it is going to feel like a new year. You are going to feel, have a clean slate in many ways. If you haven't already paid off debt, you might pay off debt. If you haven't already had notable things occur with your finances, those might continue to gel for you at this time. It's been all about getting Sag organized and focused. That's what this past year, 2020, is about. And that's what this month very much is about too. Okay, so anything that you can do to help yourself be organized and set up a structure for the year and establish more discipline in certain areas, it's probably going to be the areas that you haven't been focusing on it, right? Because if you have good discipline in certain areas, then you can say, oh, well, I'm very disciplined. I do this and this. But what this is calling for is discipline in those areas that you don't have discipline. But you're going to have laser focus for this at this time. And that's unusual. I know for myself, I get distracted easily, and it's very difficult to stay on track, right? So this month is going to be all about what you can put into your daily practices to make them habits, to hold your structure, to contain all of the Sag magic, so that you can continue to manifest in very literal ways. That's been another theme of 2020 for Sag, and this is going to continue this month and this year, is what you can do to bring those big Sagittarian ideas and ideals and passions into the material plane. And this could be a major month for that, okay? We've got a lot of focus for Sages on the area of creativity. So your creative projects might be getting a boost. You might be launching your creative projects, and this is a fantastic time for that. Publishing books, especially the first half of the month, starting your new businesses, courses, teaching, learning, all of those yummy Saggy things. I don't know to what degree there'll be travel, because things might still be very much closing down. It's very hard to tell what's going to go on in different areas, with what we're working on. But you don't have to worry, because your international arena can be very lively even without the travel, because of internet connections, okay? So anything like with international business or learning a language is very, very, very strong for Sagittarius at this time. And for some of you, it might even be a tax deduction. So you might want to look into something like that, because the call to other languages and the call to learning is very, very strong for Sagittarius at this time. And it's a really good time to commit to an education program, okay? Especially one that's flexible. That, isn't, if it's a titanic effort, remember what I talked about with the overdoing and the overpromising and the overcommitting and the zealotry. So you just kind of have to assess that and weigh all the things that I talk about in this video to see how that applies to you. But it can be an amazing time to educate yourself, and there is still a very strong focus on your financial sector and in your self-sufficiency. Many Sagittarius might have been finding themselves focused more on clean energy, or, solar, or, even things like, I found this fantastic camping battery where it's like a solar panel that you can use out camping, but it holds a lot of energy and has all these different adapters. So I've been actually trying to bring my business to be more green by using the solar energy to charge my devices that I use for my work. And that's part of how I see this second house focus. There's been a sustained focus in the second house for Sagittarius, and that is the finances, that is the self-sufficiency and things that we've been talking about. But it can also be applied to environmental things, like things like getting a rain barrel, which is something that I also did. I'm seeing through myself some of the ways that this can manifest for you, just like small things or big things that help you to decrease your imprint and to live more simply, but to also live within your means. And living within one's means is a very strong topic for Sagittarius. And it's easy for Sagittarius to get in debt and to get excessive, because we get in a mood and we do crazy things, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, what happened now? And then you have to deal with that, right? So you're cultivating within yourself the discipline and the grounding, where when these opportunities come, you can have more discernment as to where to apply your zealotry. And when it's time for you to be excessive, then you'll have that discernment as to what you can apply that to, and it can work out really well for you. This is also a good time for, especially in the first half of the month, like medical exams and like blood work and getting things like that situated, getting your checks, like just anything that can get your ducks in a row that is smart or practical is what you want to do this month. So that same sector that is highlighted for Sag, that rules your creativity and your creative efforts, also rules children. Okay, so if you have children, or if you want to work with children, or you work with children, anything involving children is coming up of special focus this month. Okay, and that it can bring some challenges, some things that need your attention, but can also bring solutions, especially the more you focus on it. If you're trying to have a baby, you might get good news, or you might get important information at this time. And if you're trying to bring your creative baby to life, then this is also a really good month for that, especially in the first half of the month. One other ongoing thing to remember for Sagittarius has to do with transiting North Node in the 7th house. North Node is your area of highest expression in this lifetime, and wherever it is in transit is like holding keys to your your personal highest expression. And for Sagittarius, this is very much about relationships, okay? So knowing when to ask for help, knowing when to help, knowing when to step out of it and not take it on yourself. There's a Bach flower remedy, B-A-C-H, called chicory. And chicory is one that is really helpful to let others have their lessons and not like boundary setting, basically. It's a flower essence, basically. They're very safe. You can use them on kids and dogs and people. You can put them on skin, your hand, it'll absorb it. You can put it in the water. But this chicory can be really helpful for Sagittarius in this department where you're trying to figure out what is your place or role, where you have a tendency to step in and try to save somebody, and then you get yourself in more trouble that way and burn yourself out, and then you don't have energy for the things that you want to do. So things like that, where you're focusing on how you can wait before saying yes, is going to be an ongoing theme that you're going to hear me talk about now and always. But this North Node in the 7th house very much has to do with the ways that your relationships can really help you, and the ways that you helping other people is going to be really fulfilling for you. So whether that's counseling others, or whether it's volunteer work, or whether it's, moving into work or expanding work where you're helping other people, there's something very special about that for your highest expression in this lifetime at this time. Okay, so let's get down into the nitty-gritty of understanding this Jupiter square Uranus aspect. Unlike the upcoming in February Saturn square Uranus aspect, we're only going to have one of these Jupiter-Uranus aspects this year. The Saturn one will have 3 times, and we'll talk about that more next month. That's going to be a very big deal too. But it's important to understand, there are must-knows about this transit, because it is a biggie. Whenever the outer planets come in close connection, or exact connection in this case, it definitely brings notable things globally down to the individual level, okay? So the first must know here is that you will feel very anxious, okay? The energy of Uranus really rules like the nervous system in some ways. So it's like when there's an aspect with Uranus, we often feel like our fingers stuck in an electric socket. And so the anxiety levels run super high, and those are going to have to be managed. So you just need to know that going into this month, even though we've already had, a long series of that going on, this month is going to be like that as well, okay? The second thing is that even though, as I mentioned earlier, since all the planets are moving forward, it is a good time to move forward and to make decisions and to do important things, especially in the first half of January before Mercury starts to slide into its retrograde process. But there's a caution here with the Jupiter square Uranus, because people can feel really, really, really compelled to do crazy things. And some of those, if there's a calculated risk involved, could turn out really well. But there could be an interference with the discernment process of figuring out what those things are. So extravagance, erratic behavior, because Jupiter rules excess. So big purchases, big commitments, big, trying to cut something off, or big decisions about kind of making a clean slate, a clean cut, and then moving forward, trying to cut ties completely. There is some caution with that. So even though the stars are moving forward and it is good to make these big decisions in some ways, if you can leave your lifeline intact, if you can leave an option, for holding on to some of the old stuff until you can see how the new stuff shakes out, because you might wish you had some of that stuff to go back to, that's a very, very major must know for this aspect. If you've got that option to wait a little bit until the tensions aren't as high, wait a little bit to see if you can find a bridge option that includes both of the things that might be in question. It's just can be a little bit sketchy making a clean cut at this time with this aspect. People are also very, receptive to other people's intentions. So whether it's on your personal level with somebody close to you, or whether it's in a level of a leader or a religious leader or a political leader trying to exert or say things, people are going to be very open to suggestion at this time with this aspect. And actually, there are known cult leaders that have had this aspect in their natal charts, the capacity to woo somebody over into something that seems so exciting, like it's going to solve all the problems. Just be very wary of anyone or anything that says, now all your problems are going to be gone if you do this thing, unless it's something that's low stakes, low commitment, has protections in order, isn't one of those big clean cut where you're just completely separating. If it's something that seems reasonable, and maybe you might not even know if it's reasonable, that's the difficulty. I would say have people that you trust to cross-reference before you do anything crazy with this aspect, okay? So see what else I wanted to tell you about this. So the energy of rebellion is going to be very strong because of the planet Uranus ruling Aquarius, and now Jupiter's in Aquarius and Saturn's in Aquarius, and then we've got these aspects with Uranus, which rules Aquarius, so it's like the energy of like being a rebel, breaking free is going to be very strong, and you will be able. That's one of the very plus sides of this aspect, even though it is a challenging aspect, we could call it, it's a point of tension. You can break free of things that were shackling you. But the more you direct the breaking of the shackles to things like clearing up addictions, clearing up debt, clearing up, overspending, like clearing up bad habits, the more you can be more sure that it's going to be a good thing what you think that you are breaking free from, okay? Because breaking free for the sake of itself might seem very alluring at this time, and people could make some rash decisions that they later regret. So a lot of caution and care has to be given. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, so there, along with this can also come like impatience, because you're wanting to make it happen, and towards the middle of the month and things might start slowing down again, or here I'm telling you, like, take a little caution when you move forward. So there could be some of this like frustration with not feeling clear about something. But if you don't feel super clear about something, then definitely I would suggest waiting it out a little longer. The energies will be much more clear in March and April for trying to make some big decisions again, in the event that you're not completely clear at this time. Some other things about Jupiter squaring Uranus are, first of all, that it may coincide with major trajectory changes. And this is an interesting topic now because we've just come out of eclipse season, and we're still kind of getting some leftover things from the November, December eclipses, which definitely are trajectory changing and can really set people on a completely different course. And this aspect does the same thing. So it's very kind of eclipse reminder like in that way, where it's, you could see something come, and if it's coming out of your control and you can't do anything about it, then your choice is to clear up the resistance and accept it, or look for possible solutions or ways around it. And if those can't be found, then, to try to regain your peace on the topic. But it does often coincide with very dramatic life changes, and also changes in fortune. So people may make a bunch of money and all of a sudden be rich. People may lose a bunch of money and all of a sudden, have a reversal of their financial situation. So those types of things can happen. An analogy that I've been thinking of for this aspect has to do with those stories we hear about certain people who have become famous too fast, or become famous too young, or become successful too young or too fast, or just too plain successful and famous, right? Sometimes, and I'm not saying that this is true for all people who are successful or famous, obviously, but there are many people we've heard of that have just not been able to handle that level of change and that extreme change, or that extreme experience, and it has burnt them up. And this energy is very much like that. So many people might be thrown into the spotlight, thrown into fame, thrown into fortune, or thrown into not fortune, just like a big change. But a lot of it can be very positive, like, you get your dream that you worked for, but you need some help and support managing the openness that comes with it. Sometimes this aspect can bring too much freedom and too many options, and the confusion that comes from those things, So definitely, if you're in a position like this where something like this occurs, remember what I said, so that you can seek out support to help you stay grounded and help you stay centered and help you make good choices during the major changes. Because zealotry is another word that I'm using to describe what this energy can bring. And even though the aspect is happening on the 17th of January, this is a big one. So we're feeling this, even a month or more before it's starting to build, and we'll feel it after. It'll flow after. It's like, it's a big one. We're not going to feel it just on the day and the week of this. This is a trend that's kind of building in our subconscious. It's making itself more external the closer we get to the middle of January, and then it's present all through January. Really, this is strong, and then it will start to fade out, into February and into the beginning of March. Then that cycle will be complete with this particular aspect, but it is much more longer lived, and it can create very permanent effects as well, depending on the decisions made. So just be excited if your life is expanding in wonderful ways, but just keep your center and be very cautious with the decisions that you make, understanding all of these pieces now. Okay, so I know I've given you a lot to digest here. If you would like to have even more information on how you can understand and utilize the energies at play from the planetary perspective, then go to anniehelpsyou.com. There you'll see lots of blogs that I've written on astrology and other topics, but there you can also sign up for my free email newsletter. And with that, you will get delivered into your inbox 1 month early my written report of the sweet and salty aspects and their dates and what you can expect from them, as well as my general write-up of the month in a written version so that you can go back over it and digest it. So it's not a transcript of these videos, but it is a summary and some more details about the general energies at play. Okay, so you can get that at anniehelpsyou.com, and you'll also receive my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free as a member of my email community. Okay, so all that's at anniehelpsyou.com. Then you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com, and you'll see my written horoscopes up 1 month early, as well as book recommendations for each sign for each month, depending on the sun, where the sun is for each sign, plus healthy lifestyle and spiritual lifestyle blogs on there. It's a beautiful site. You will love it. So you can check that out, cozybysweetstarlight.com. Definitely also go to my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. I've got free courses there on health and wellness, also on increasing your abundance. You can see those free courses, and you can see my paid course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course. If you think I put a lot into the free resources that I give you every month, you should see what I do for the paid resources. It is quite crazy comprehensive, and it will equip you to do whatever you'd like to do in astrology, whether it's just for your own self-development and helping your family and friends, or if you'd like to include it in part of a professional offering, or just do astrology as your work. I will teach you what you need to know to do that. So you can see all of that there. And very exciting, it's definitely time to get my book, Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. It's out officially on December 8th of 2020. You can pre-order it before then, and you can find it on Audible. It's on Kindle. It's in a print version. It's on Barnes & Noble Nook. It's a beautiful hardcover reference book that you'll go back to time and time again. All of the Books A Million stores and all of the Barnes & Noble stores in the entire US has ordered copies of this book. So you should be able to walk in and get it unless somebody's bought them already. But you can also order them on Amazon and at independent booksellers, many independent booksellers worldwide, and also some big booksellers worldwide have also stocked this book. So you can find it pretty much anywhere. So you can see that, more of that, by just searching for Planetology and my name. And I hope you have a wonderful month. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next month. Bye.